Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Warframe Wednesdays. I'm your host with the most, as always, Francois878. And this is going to be a chill episode. It's just going to be a relax. It's going to be a rather short episode, too. I didn't really have a whole lot of time to record and make and plan this episode. There's also not really a whole lot of stuff going on. It's kind of been a slow week. We did get update 16.3.4, but there was a couple of fixes, a couple of slight changes, and the introduction to some new ability augments, which I might do in another video. I might talk about them, but for right now, I'd like to talk about weapon sets. And what I mean by a weapon set is that it's a primary, a secondary, and a melee weapon that all have similar aesthetic feel. They all look very similar. They're specifically created to look similar, not just, oh, this Grineer weapon and this Grineer weapon look similar because they're both Grineer weapons. I'm talking like the Stalker weapons, the Dread, Hate, and Despair. I'm talking the bladed weapon bundle for the Tigress, the Redeemer, and the Akka Jagara. And I'm talking the new weapon set that they just released, the Superior Soma set, the Soma, the Akka Somata, and the Dual Raza hatchets. And my opinion of them. Basically, I'm not a big fan of weapon sets. I think that they're not very creative, I would rather have a new weapon, a new different pistol, and a new different melee weapon, something unique and interesting and fresh, than have weapons, inspired by, another weapon that's already in the game. And I don't mind weapon sets. I'm not a big fan of them. But at the same time, when you make a weapon set around an ugly-ass weapon like the Soma... Now, don't get me wrong, guys. Before I start getting the hate mail, I love the Soma to death. It is my favorite fully automatic rifle. It is a really fun gun to use. It is uglier than shit, though. It is not a very attractive weapon. It is a weapon I use a lot, but it is not a pretty weapon. It's not a cool-looking weapon. It's a very basic, generic-looking assault rifle. Even the Soma Prime, being all fancy and gold and with little ornate details and stuff, it's still not an incredibly pretty gun. So, that being said, to decide to make a weapon set based on this not-so-cool-looking, very vanilla-looking gun, I'm kind of sitting here, scratching my head. Why would they do that? The Dual Raza and the Akka Somata, neither one of those weapons look cool. They look like generic machine pistols, and the Dual Raza that are supposed to be supposedly hatchets look more like little, scythes or something. And neither one of those two weapons are very good. They have potential to be, endgame gear if you put enough formas into them. But, they don't look cool. They look very boring, very vanilla. They don't do anything cool. It's just a regular old machine pistol and regular old hatchets. They don't look cool. Their performance is subpar unless you're, ready to put a bunch of forma into them. I'm just not very impressed by them. And I know, there's not going to be, every weapon isn't going to be a killer weapon. And it's, not every weapon is going to be, you're not going to be able to take every weapon to a tier 4 survival for 60 minutes and, expect to kill stuff. I understand that. There has to be, a middle ground. But the Akka Somata, you have to have an Akka stiletto pistols in order to make the Akasamata, you know, from the blueprint. You know, if one weapon takes another weapon to build, I expect it to be decent. You know, decent from, you know, decent right out of the gate. You know, I also expect to have some pre-installed polarity slots, which the Akasamata came with none. Neither did the Dual Raza, I do believe. But that's okay. That's not really what I'm most concerned about. I'm the Soma Superior weapon set is a subpar set. I am a much bigger fan of the bladed gunplay set that they released a few months ago. It's got the Tigress shotgun, it's got the Redeemer gunblade, and it has the Akajagara pistols. Now, some of this stuff, I've heard the Akajagara pistols could potentially be endgame if you put enough formas into them. The Tigress, I've never been a real big fan of that double-barrel shotgun. And the Redeemer, I don't think is an endgame gun either. The difference is, all of those guns are really fun to use. Like a gunblade? Are you serious? A gunblade? You're a space ninja wielding a gunblade. That's fucking awesome. You know, and they all look really, really cool. You know, just the shapes of the weapons, and, you know, incorporating the bladed look. They're very cool weapons to carry around. You know, they have a good aesthetic to them. And, you know, the Tigress may be endgame if you have it properly modded. I'm not sure. Shotguns don't have a whole lot of love in this game right now, as is. So the point of that is the Razor Gunplay bundle, the Razor Gunplay, you know, weapon set is a cool set. It's got a good aesthetic. They all look cool. They perform decently well. You know, the Soma set just doesn't. I'm just, you know, I would much rather have waited a few weeks and gotten some, you know, a more unique pistol and a more unique melee weapon than have gotten, you know, I don't want to say an obvious cash-in, you know, but people, I'm sure people went out, and I did, I'll say it, you know, I went out the very first day and bought the, no, I actually crafted the Akasamata, but I bought the Dual Raza out of the marketplace for Platinum. Because I'm like, oh, well, you know, if they're mini Somas, then they ought to be pretty damn good. And I was unpleasantly surprised at the lack of performance out of both those weapons. And I mean, even with formas, you know, there's only so far those weapons can really be taken. I don't... Basically, the whole point of this video is I don't want Digital Extremes to start doing weapon sets on a regular basis. I want this to be like a once, maybe twice a year type of deal. And for it only to be on, you know, very interesting, unique weapons. You know, I don't want them to, you know, just... I just don't want them to take a boring-ass weapon and make... you know, a secondary and a melee clone of it. You know, I'm a fucking ninja in space killing aliens. I want cool weapons to do it. And I have to say, so far, Digital Extremes have delivered on that promise. There are so many awesome, cool, unique, interesting weapons in this game. You know, it just really pisses me off when I see weapons like the Akasamata and the Dual Raza come out. They're just unimpressive compared to guns that shoot lightning and venom and crazy ass shit like that. You know, light bombs and, you know, you can mod your grenade launcher to shoot 6 grenades at once. You know, I'm unimpressed. I'm unimpressed. That's the point. But that's my opinion on weapon sets. I'm okay with them as long as they're focused on interesting weapons to begin with, and as long as they're not a frequent occurrence. Other than that, I'm totally cool with them. But with that, I think we're going to wrap up this episode, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to make this announcement in this video as well as another update video I'll be releasing also either today or tomorrow. I am going to be skipping the next 2 Wednesdays. Let me see. Today's the 15th of April. So I will be skipping the 22nd and the 29th. Is that right? It is right. I will be skipping the 22nd and the 29th of April. I'll be skipping the last 2 weeks of April. I have stuff going on, and I can't. I'm not going to be able to get. I'm just not going to have time to do any videos at all. And but hopefully we'll be resuming videos again at the in the beginning of May. I'm also planning a special giveaway in because I hit 800 subscribers, so I'm going to be planning something special for that for the first of the month. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but it'll be something cool. And, but yeah, I think that's going to be about it, for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as always. This has been your host with the most, Francois878, signing out.